Welcome to Chapter 5. Before Dr. Afolabi was invited to Banjul to serve as an advisor to Summit of Heads of State, he had previously been guest at the Foundation for Democratic Rule in Washington to give a keynote address at the annual conference. Dr. Afolabi was married to Pamela from Boston, U.S. Dr. Afolabi's invitation to Washington had given the couple a chance to visit Pamela's father, a widower who lived in Boston. Dr. Afolabi fondly remembers Pamela's dad through a watch that could help one check pressure, memory among other things. Dr. Afolabi, while walking about Boston, he bought a razor at $5.23. Later, while in a flight out of Washington back to Nigeria, Dr. Afolabi meets Tad Longway. Mr. Longway is the Director of Special Projects at the Agency for Governance and Development in Africa, AGDA. The two exchange pleasantries and contacts. Mr. Longway says Africa in its present state has two new arrivals, corruption and impunity. HC asks Dr. Afolabi if he would be interested in the adventure that is being sponsored by AGDA, whose underlying idea is mobilized discontent with Africa in its present state into a will to change it. Dr. Afolabi confirms to Mr. Tad Longway that heads of state had invited him to the summit to give them his views on Way Omega. Mr. Tad Longway introduces and proposes an alternative to Way Omega, and that is Path Alpha, which differs from the former like day and night. Whereas Way Omega is top-driven, lacks the will for implementation, Path Alpha is bottom-led and has that will. Therefore he asks Dr. Afolabi to guide four Path Alpha travelers and adherents whom AGDA is sending as observers to the very summit he'll be as an advisor. Mr. Tad Longway hands Path Alpha document to Dr. Afolabi and asks him to remain with Way Omega so that they could find a way they could get to the summit. Meanwhile, Afolabi and his wife, Pamela, are back in Nigeria. Their houseboy reports that while the couple were away, somebody came to their house uninvited. When questioned, the houseboy did not give an answer. In fact, he says he let the person into their bedroom. The uninvited man surfaces. Dr. Afolabi and the man converse in Yoruba. Pamela is dismayed at the unfolding. She learns in utter disbelief that her husband and the man in question knew each other very well. Femi, the uninvited guest and with a scar, is a cousin to Dr. Afolabi. The two grew up together in Kaduna. Under instructions from the family, Femi had brought a second wife to Dr. Afolabi without his consent because Pamela was not giving birth. Pamela was not happy. Furious and angry, Pamela runs out only to reappear with a broomstick chasing the young girl, Nimbo, she had found in her matrimonial bed. Femi discloses that the folks back at home are the choreographers of the whole scheme. Pamela is extremely annoyed with the scheme of having Nimbo as her co-wife. She is worked up. She demands that the two, Femi and Nimbo, must leave her house. Dr. Afolabi comes to their defense, arguing that it's late at night and that if the two have to leave, then that should be in the morning. Pamela still insisted that they should leave that night. Her demands fall on deaf ears. Enraged at her husband's lackluster in handling the matter, Pamela leaves that very night. A week later, Pamela calls Dr. Afolabi from her father's home in Boston. She informs him that she had filed a divorce. Did you like this video? Please comment below. Thanks for watching. Continue to Chapter 6.